All right, so today I'm going to do a comparison between the two versions of the new Mizuno Morelia Neo 3s. So on the right here, we've got the beta versions with our sock material instead of a traditional tongue, and on the left we've got what I guess we'll call the classic model um, with the traditional tongue. And so I'll just start off saying I've gotten about 5 play sessions out of the classics. And what I noticed is that initially they were tighter than I remember new Neo 2s being, especially in the right foot. And I thought, well, they'll loosen up like they normally do and mold to my foot over a few play sessions. And the left foot was fine, and the right foot was really tight. Now, I think maybe one of my feet is slightly bigger than the others, so it wasn't a big deal until I got these, which was last Monday, and I put them on, and immediately they were more comfortable in the left and right foot. So then I picked up the right foot of this, because one of the features of these that I had heard of is they were supposed to have a little more room in the toe box. And so I compared the two toe boxes on the classic, which you can see is kind of sharp angle there on the tip. And then the betas, which is more rounded in the tip. So now I thought, well, why would there be a difference between these two, the way the toe box is shaped? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So then I picked up my other classic, and I took a look at the toe boxes, and let me see if I can get them even here. You can see that there's a vast difference between the right shoe, which has a very slim cut down toe box, and the left shoe, and of course the reverse left right here, but you can even see where the stitching is different on these. So to me, this is a serious quality control issue at Mizuno, because there's no way, even if you put these on a machine to form them and stretch them like they say they do for 24 hours, the fact that this was glued down in a completely different position than this one means it's always going to have a tighter fit, which to me is completely unacceptable. So I don't know what I'm going to do with these. I also want to note that this is the first time I've ever had this happen. Is you can see right here, and I've only worn these 5 times, this leather's starting to split right there. And that's not good either. So I'm pretty disappointed with the quality control on these, although the feel is still good in the one that fit. This one just was never going to fit, so it was just too tight. So now on to the differences between these. So obviously the sole plate is the same, and I went over that in the first video. I don't notice a whole lot of difference in the sole plate in the play between either of these and my original Neo 2s here. I also want to note that if you take a look at the toe box on this one, it's even higher than this one here. And if I compare it to my son's size 8, you can see even between these two, there's a vast difference. And so the size 8 of my son's, the yellow one here, is also a Neo 2, and it's been tight on him. And now I understand why, is that to me, there'd be no reason for these two Neo 2s, 9.5 here and 8 here, to be so vastly different in that toe area. So he's always complained, and I never understood why, that these were a little too tight for him. Well, that toe box just slopes back dramatically compared to the other ones, and even compared to my other Neo 2. So I think overall maybe Mizuno just has some toe box quality control issues, or at least consistency. Now that said, I don't know that I've ever had an issue with my Neo 2s. They all seem to be just a little tight at first, like they should be, and then eventually loosen up to where they're good fitting. But my son has played with these 6 or 7 times, and they just have never loosened up to his liking, and it was disappointing to me. But now, when I compare these toe boxes, I mean, that thing just slopes back dramatically. So this is never going to fit him as well as one of these should, or even this one, but not that one. So now on to the differences between these two. Again, I said the sole plate seems the same. I don't have any issue with either of them. They seem to play just like the Neo 2s, which is fantastic. So no complaint there. My first question with these was, how do they slide on? So I've always had an issue. I've kind of got a taller midfoot. I can never really wear cleats with like these molded sock linings, like the Nike or Adidas. I just can never get my foot in them. That said, the comparison between these two is for both shoes, to slip them on easily, I have to loosen up the first 2 sets of laces. So same on both, and this stretches enough, and this heel little grabber works well enough that I can slide my foot right in these just as well as these. So really no difference. If you have any concerns about whether or not you can wear these or get your foot in them easily, I would say you're not going to have a problem. Like I said, I found it virtually identical between the two, just having to loosen up the first 2 sets of laces. Now, obviously the comfort level between these. Well, having always liked traditional tongues and loving the tongue in the Mizunos, because every other cleat I've had, the tongue always ends up slipping off to the side because of the shape of my midfoot. The Mizunos always stayed centered, and they were fantastic. These are, I think, more comfortable. So once my foot was in them, it really felt molded to my foot. I really liked the way it fit. I thought the laces might dig into my feet, but I've never tied the laces on my Mizunos really tight anyway. So I kind of had the medium tightness. I didn't feel the laces digging into my feet through this material here, because it's a little thinner than their traditional tongue. So the comfort level I thought was great. The laces do seem to be a bit longer. So I'm not sure. I may have to get another set of laces, or maybe go down to this next notch here, although that's only going to end up being maybe half an inch total. But no issues there. The one thing I did notice in play between these and the original Morelia 2s is I actually, and I didn't think I would be able to at first, could tell the difference between this here being virtually really non-existent when you're playing. There's just some stretchy material, versus this. This is really more of a solid molded piece, and it really feels like this helps lock my heel in place, this little bit of extra material here. Whereas here, I don't know that my foot's not as locked down, but it, maybe it's psychological, but it just doesn't feel as locked in, because this is really doing nothing. I understand the point of it is just so you can grab it and slide your foot in here. But on these classic ones, I would have loved to have had the same classic little heel piece here, rather than that stretchy material, because on these, it's really doing nothing. So 5 play sessions with these, pretty comfortable, except for that. No issues. They play just like the Morelia 2s. On to these. My original goal was to have, again, 5 or 6 play sessions with these. That did not work out, as the Monday I got them, actually I think it was Tuesday I got them, I took them out of the box and threw them on and headed up to the fields for about an hour and a half play session. And after about half an hour, I got pretty nasty blisters on my heels on both these, right inside here, that I did not get with these. I'm not exactly sure why. They seem to be virtually the same in the back, although you do have a different material here. All right, so this is kind of a molded textured synthetic, where this is their new kind of fake leather that's maybe a little more flexible than this is. But again, in the heel, I wouldn't expect to have gotten blisters that quickly. Now, it's possible that my foot wasn't as locked down. Maybe I left the laces a little too loose. So, but I've got a couple more days for those blisters to fully heal, and I'm going to give these another shot. That said, they were really comfortable going out to the fields. For the first 20, 30 minutes, they were comfortable. I should have worn, I've got a set of anti-blister socks that are really thin that I wear under my normal socks when I'm wearing a new pair of cleats that, virtually eliminate blisters. And so since then, I've had to wear those, and I've gone back to my Neo 2s for the rest of the week. So we'll have another, 3 or 4 sessions next week in these, and I'll wear the blister socks this time. And I'm hoping that it was just a fluke that I got the blisters there, because it doesn't really seem like there's anything that should be rubbing my heel inside there. But clearly the foot wasn't as locked down as I thought it was. So fitment between these two being the main difference is this material here. I'm going to say these are more comfortable. And now that said, if I can't get them to stay comfortable while not giving me blisters, well, then that extra comfort doesn't mean anything. But we'll have to wait till next week to see that. So the other difference between these two, other than the tongue, traditional over here versus this, stretchy material here, is this material here, which on this one is, kind of a textured, molded, synthetic. It's pretty thin. Same as this is real thin. But to me, it's just got more flex to it. So maybe people might get a better touch from this than this. I don't know. That's going to be personal preference. I don't know that I can really tell the difference. So overall, the difference between these is minimal, except for the blisters, the manufacturing defect over here, and this maybe slight comfort improvement with these. So the last thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and check the weight on these. People have asked, so we're going to zero out the scale. All right, it's zeroed. And we'll try our beta version, 7.2 ounces. Now I have played in these once. And right here, 7.0 ounces. And I've played in these a couple times. So if you want to say maybe when you're playing, they absorb a little sweat. These are still slightly heavier than these. And if we go back to our Neo 2s, we can see now these I just played in last night, and it was raining, so they've absorbed a significant amount of moisture. But the other day when they were dried out, I think they were 7.2 ounces versus 6.8 on these. So these are slightly heavier than these, but of course you'll never be able to tell that difference. They're still extremely light. So other than the significant quality issue here with this toe box, I would say if I had to choose between these two, and I do because I'm have to do something with these because they are not fitting correctly. If I can get these to work without giving me blisters, then I'm going to go with these. If I wear them 5 or 6 times and then take the blister socks off and these still give me blisters, then they're gone and I'm going to go back to these. So overall, if I had to choose right now between any of these three, obviously I've been choosing these because the Neo 2s, because I do not get blisters. They're extremely comfortable. The toe box, while maybe not quite as tall as these, it's definitely better than this one, which is horrible. So I will follow up probably next week after I get 4 or 5 play sessions out of these, and let's see if they stop giving me blisters. But until then, these are probably my choice over these.